Hey friends, it is Sunday the 18th and this is the beginning of moving and rearranging. I had mentioned about getting rid of this couch or futon because it tilts back. It's kind of in a V shape and not the most ergonomic to work on. I thought it'd be a good idea, but really it's just not. I've had pillows underneath me trying to keep me a little bit more stable, but it's just not working, tearing up my back. So we are going to make more of a day bed sort of thing here to keep our extra bedroom, give the opportunity for someone to sleep here and get me a little flatter so I can put my feet up while I crochet. So getting ready to do all that. This is probably the last time that it will be the last time because this is moving out today for seeing this background. So other news, I told you last week about a tractor that I was commissioned to do. And so I finished the tractor. So this is for a 1-year-old who apparently has been sleeping with his metal tractors, and a friend wanted to get him something plush. So I was told none of those silly green tractors, it had to be orange. So this is my orange tractor here. The pattern was written for acrylic yarns, and while the plush worked up just fine, it doesn't quite have the same structure that the acrylic yarns do. So it's a bit more lumpy and bumpy. Also, while the top wasn't written in a round, it did still kind of, because it was a slip stitch join, it still kind of ends up a little bit twisted. So I'm sure nothing that a 1-year-old will care about, but it does kind of bother me. So that was a big project that I finished. It did end up taking longer than I thought just because of all the different parts. You do the roof, finish that off, and then you start working down the roof and get to a point, and then you bring out the front, and then you start working in the round again. So I had mentioned last week it just took a little bit more brain power to figure out where we were going. It was well written and everything was good, but just not something I'm typically used to. So we do not have dance tomorrow because of Martin Luther King Jr. So I will bring this to the individual on Tuesday at dance to give this to her. So she seemed super excited about it when I sent her the photo, and that is all that matters. The next thing I got done was a square. So I had picked up a bunch of the Red Heart Granny Square colors. This one is Daisy Dew. And so this says that one skein gets you 12 squares. I then went on to Yarnspirations and printed off the pattern. So this is really for a quilt. And I just did the first square. I have not woven in ends or anything else because I'm not quite sure what will come of this. I did have some issues with the yarn. It probably should have had just a smidge more white there, and I ended up even pulling out and making the last section tighter, and I skipped a stitch trying to get that finished off. Hey friends, we are back. So got interrupted as I was talking, and my construction crew had the bed frame put together. So we took out the, why can't I think of this word? Took out the futon, and that is now upstairs in the playroom for the kids. And I now have the platform here. So right now I just have a partial 1/4 inch thick a piece of plywood sitting here. The mattress for it should be here on Tuesday. We do need to get some twin sheets. The only thing we have with twin currently is our air mattress that we take for travel. So I need to get some twin sheets, and then I can use a queen comforter and stuff like that. So I'm already sitting so much higher. My hips, my knees are square. It is so nice. I do have some pillows on top of the plywood. This is the same pillows that I had used to try and straighten up, level up the futon. So sitting on some pillows, so much nicer, so much squarer. The back is already so much better. I'm so excited. So at some point I will get a king headboard to go along the length of the bed to have something to set on, put a little nicer backdrop behind me. I can then put some of my yarn stuff, maybe move some of my turtles down, maybe my llama that I have, I'm just never gonna sell. So some of those little fun things that I've made for us, for me, I can set behind me then as well. So super excited. Also, because this is so much higher and it's flat and not, the storage underneath is so much better. We've had wrapping paper underneath this, but I've had yarn in the hallway forever. Well, not quite forever, but almost a year, because I bought all that with Joann's closing. So all my hoarding, I now can put the yarn under the bed. I have them in milk crates and they slide right under the bed. So nice. I am so excited to get them out of the hallway. So excited. Yes. So I was talking about my granny square before I cut off there to move furniture. So, oh look, I'm even matching the colors. These are some earrings that I got from a fellow crafter at the last market last year, right before Christmas. And super cute. I've been wearing all of those Christmas earrings that I bought from her, but with I've got sunflowers on my shirt, and I thought these would be a perfect little thing there with the little bees. So matching, how color coordinated. So this yarn, it transitions on its own, and it tells you, it said the suggested hook size was a 5.5. Well, I don't have a 5.5. I've got a 5, I've got a 6, 6.5. So I started with a 5, and I had so much left over for the center. So I undid that and started with a 6. And it came out pretty much perfect with the 6. Then doing this round, I was short. So I ended up taking out the last petal and redoing it with tighter stitches to try and make up that yarn section. But I was still just, I feel like it was just a bit short here. Well, I know it is a bit short because I ended up skipping an extra stitch for the flower and just kind of making an extra slip stitch instead of the double crochet. And so the transition there is much more abrupt than it is for some of these other flower petals where it cuts in. So, and I'm not 100% sure that I got everything in the chains that I should have. I had a bit of a hard time following. I almost need to put a stitch marker in those chain spaces so that I know where I'm going into. However, for my first granny square, I'm pretty proud of myself. So I had received a tip to look at Hooked by Robin for some granny square tutorials, and I pulled up like one of the beginner tutorials trying to figure out, you know, I'm so used to doing the magic circle. However, I've seen where magic circles have unraveled for granny squares and quilts kind of things. So trying to figure out what exactly this chain thing is and where I'm going with that. So I watched the beginning of that, and then I pretty much just took off from the pattern. the Yarnspirations, this is a free pattern on their website. They have it spelled out as well as the graphic. So I was able to read along and see what I was supposed to be doing along with the graphic. And I found that very helpful. So now I have a better idea of what I'm doing. I will probably keep working with this and do some more granny squares. I don't know what they will be made into at this point. I would like to make kind of a tote bag, some book covers, Kindle cases sort of things. I have a number of other color variations of this. These were at Ollie's, and so I don't remember what they were, $4 or something for these skeins. And I picked up a whole bunch of colorways. Most of them I just bought one of the colorway. On a blue and black, I picked up 2 of those skeins because I really, the blue is like my favorite color. So I am looking forward to seeing how these all plan out. I don't know if there are other kind of granny squares that work with these. I will have to look more on the Yarnspirations to see what other things I can do, because this is that granny square that is highlighted here. I don't know if that is what this is intended for. So it may be that this specific pattern is what this specific yarn is created for. So we'll have to look. I believe that the other skeins, the other colorways, have different granny squares pictured. So it may just be what that yarn is. We will see. But I do really like this as well. Obviously, these are colors that I wear. These are colors that I use. And I love the daisies and the sunflowers. So I am excited to see how I can improve and how this gets better. I do not have anything to block this. So that will be something that I will be looking for foam boards or wood boards or whatever to block it. I do have a steamer from our dance competition stuff, and I can certainly use a spray bottle for water or steamer. So if you have blocking boards that you like to use, please drop those in the comments, because I am open to suggestions for those. I know there's different sizes. I know some people have said on tutorials that I've watched that pins didn't work, they slipped out, they weren't tight enough, things like that. So if you have some blocking boards that you really like, let me know, and so I can go look for some of that to keep this going. This was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. So conquered, we can do this. So pretty excited for that. And then my mom sent me this butterfly, not really a cardigan, I forget what they called it, but just kind of an over the top. It doesn't even really have sleeves, but as you hold it up, it is butterfly wings. It is so pretty. And my mom is low 70s, very active. Obviously, I still have a 97-year-old grandfather. You know, we've got some good genes there. And she sent this morning, and I'm like, oh, is this what you want for your 80th birthday? And she just laughs, because like, maybe I'll get it done by then. But it's a super pretty pattern. I will have to pop a picture up and show you this image. And I don't know if this marketing is a stolen pattern or anything like that. So I have to do some digging on that and make sure that I can find the original artist. And then right after church this morning. So mom sent me that first thing this morning as I'm making coffee. After church, while we're sitting around waiting for my daughter to get out of class, my husband goes, "Oh, look at this. Isn't this pretty?" I'm like, "That's exactly what mom just sent me this morning." So I will have to see, you know, what that kind of pattern entails. I have not done any wearables outside of basic hats and headbands. So that could be something fun. I've also thought about some of the fingerless gloves. And so lots of options and ideas out there. Something else that I really want to do is work through these patterns that I've purchased. I don't know if I should go A to Z. I think I mentioned this last time, and I haven't received any feedback on it. Like, do I just go A to Z through my pattern folder and do all these, or do I do themes with farm animals and imaginary creatures? You know, what do you want to see? I know that a lot of people do pattern roundups, and those are very popular. I enjoy watching them as well. And so maybe that's something that I should categorize my patterns by and just start going through some of those things with farm animals and fantasy creatures, dinosaurs, and do that kind of stuff, because I have so many patterns that I have purchased and have not made. You know, I'm going looking for one pattern and then I find all these other things, and so they all go in my cart and they all go in my pattern folder, and I just don't make them all. So I will have to see how we can divvy this up and do this. This week, again, there are no shows until March. I tried to get into a Valentine's show, but they'd already had, by the time friends, fellow vendors tagged me in it, they already had a crochet person. So all good there. I have not heard back from the school about the April show, but we've still got some time there. And so lots of time to make fun things. I have not done any more knitting, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do there. I'm just really struggling with it, and I don't know if I just need to sit down with somebody again and work through this, or if I need to start over and learn the conventional way, not the other way that I learned, with holding the yarn in my left hand. So, which is more like a knitting. So I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna go with that. I would like to believe that I could be successful with knitting, but I don't remember struggling like this with crochet. You know, once I got past the first junky pattern because of where I purchased it and the instructions were not in English, once I got past that and got good patterns and good instructions, I just kind of took off, and I didn't have this huge block with crochet like I do with knitting. So I understand that not everything is for everybody, but my grandmother knitted and I just really want to continue that. So I'm gonna have to do some thinking on that and figure out the best way to approach that keeps my mental health intact while going down that pathway. So this week, Mom and a couple of her sisters are going to be heading into Wrightsville Beach, just at Wilmington. And so that's just a little over about an hour away. So we'll be going back and forth quite a bit to visit them, see them, and I don't know how much sightseeing we will do, but certainly spending time together. Kids still have dance this week. There's no dance tomorrow because of Martin Luther King. So like I had said for the tractor, I'll deliver that on Tuesday. So we'll have dance Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm working a full day tomorrow as they travel into town. And then I don't have many patients scheduled then through the end of the month as I front loaded that, but I will still be working and working my second job in the evenings and during dance time, as I said. So have a bunch of cleaning here to do, organizing here to do, figure out how I'm going to store my yarn underneath so that I can find everything. But I feel like we're making a step in the right direction here. So I'm excited to have a little bit better workspace, a little bit more. Not a whole lot going on, not a whole lot to do. There's just no pressure with not having any shows. We still have tons of inventory if I would have a pop-up show or something like that. And I'm really comfortable with where all of that is. So I'm looking forward to doing a bunch of fun things and seeing where all of this takes me. So hopefully I can get a headboard and I can get Snoop back up here with me here soon, as well as some of my other favorites and things that, you know, I've just made that I can't part with. So I look forward to seeing you guys later this week, and I appreciate everybody here with me. It has been a year on YouTube now, and while I'm not where I had hoped I would be, you know, I'm still better than I was a year ago. So I had like 80,000 views and just under 500 hours of watch time for 2025. So I've put out pretty much a long video every other week. I think I had about 60 long videos and around 90 shorts. And I ended the year at about 155 subscribers. Certainly there's a lot of ebb and flow with people joining and then unsubscribing. But I ended at around 155. So I am super hopeful to keep growing and sharing my crafting love with you guys. And certainly there's always the little homeschooling and parenting and all of that stuff thrown in as well, because that is just life. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and hanging out with me. Let me know about some of those blocking boards for the granny squares and how you get through your crochet patterns. So I will check in with you guys later. Have a wonderful week.